Hey everyone, this is Gojir2012 here, and I just got finished watching the latest episode of Dragon Ball Super. That would be episode 47. I don't remember the full title of the episode, but I believe it's SOS, something about the future. Oh man, I'm pretty bad at this, aren't I? But let's jump right into it. This episode of Dragon Ball Super is exactly what the series needed. The last 3 arcs of Dragon Ball Super were kind of generic. It's just that it really felt like it didn't do too much new. Like, the first 2 arcs were just retold arcs of Battle of Gods and Resurrection F. And the 3rd arc was new, and we got some cool stuff from it, but there was still some things in there that left you scratching your head thinking, wait, what? And that's never a good sign. But thankfully, if you can forgive all of that and you waited this long, then I can tell you straight up that this episode was worth it, the wait. Before I get into talking about the story and other aspects of this episode, I just want to let everyone know, spoiler alert! So if you haven't seen the episode already and you don't want to be spoiled, then I suggest you click away from this video because we will be talking about some major plot points that happened in this episode. If you've already seen the episode and would like to hear me talk about it, then feel free to stay. Please? Please? Anyway, we start off the episode in the future, and the future is just devastated. The whole city landscape, everything they show is destroyed. Trunks is running from this dark entity that is flying around in the sky, shooting yellow ki blasts, literally destroying everything. All of this leads to Trunks going to a factory where future Bulma is making fuel for the time machine. Now, one thing they point out is that there isn't enough fuel for a 2-way trip, so it's only a 1-way trip to the past. And Trunks is like, well, how will I be able to come back? And then Bulma's like, well, you know what? You might not be able to, but there could be a way. And my theory on this is that Bulma from the past, or the different timeline, is going to create more fuel, because it's Bulma. I mean, she can pretty much do anything now, can't she? She pretty much tells Trunks that he is the last hope, and that he has to get back to the past. After all of this is done, an explosion occurs at the factory. Bulma hands off the fuel to Trunks and says, get out of here while you still can, pretty much, and then another explosion happens, and we see that Black is holding Bulma, and it's a pretty tense moment. But the factory then explodes, and it's pretty much confirmed that future Bulma is dead. Man, as if Trunks couldn't get it any worse, this had to happen. He already lost his father so many years ago, and now he lost his mother. That's a pretty tough pill to swallow, and it's very, very depressing to see happen, because if I had to compare this to the Trunks special, Trunks didn't really see Gohan die. He found his corpse. But man, this time Trunks got it even worse. He saw his mother die. That's horrible! Toriyama, man! Way to take Trunks and kick him in the dick. Like, oh my, man, you are showing no mercy for this arc, are you? So then after all of this is done, we go back to the past and we see Goku and Piccolo working on the fields, and I should point out that the animation for the scenes in the future is spot on. For all the people that like to nag and complain about Super's animation, I mean, in a way, you're slightly justified, unless you've only seen episode 5, in which case I say you're full of shit. But if you've watched the whole series, then you're slightly justified, but the scenes in the future in this episode look great. They actually look really well done. You can tell that the animation studio took its time with these scenes. But when we cut back to the past, things start to look a little off, but not too bad. But anyway, back in the past, Goku and Piccolo are working on the fields, even though Goku likes to call it training, which then leads to Goku sensing Vegeta's ki on Beerus' planet, because Vegeta went to Whis' planet to train. And the whole training regimen, or whatever you want to call it, involves Vegeta trying to land a hit on Whis, and Whis is just mocking him like, oh, what's that? You can't hit me today? Aw, that's a shame. And this causes Vegeta to go Super Saiyan Blue. And as he's about to try and land a hit on Whis, Goku teleports in, or, uses instantaneous movement, instant transmission, whatever you want to call it. He uses that to go on Beerus' planet, and he ends up getting right in between Whis and Vegeta, so it leads to a funny scene with them clunking heads together. It's pretty funny. So then Goku and Vegeta spend their time on Beerus' planet for the remainder of the past scenes. Mainly played up for comedy, and once you see it, you'll understand. So I'm just going to talk about the scenes that matter, the future stuff. Trunks is knocking on a door when we see him again in the future, and it happens to be Mai's door, and I guess it's implied that they're dating? I can't really tell. Nothing's really, flat out said. And you can tell they have it rough in the future. There's a huge obscurance of food. Mai's like, look, I found food. And according to the translations, it is dog food, but the one I watched, it isn't. Translators, I don't know, whatever. So it either is or isn't dog food. So they have it pretty rough there. And they spend the whole time talking about what just happened with Bulma and stuff, and how they need to get back to the past and stay safe. So they had the Capsule Corp, and at that time they are trying to avoid Black, because Black can sense Trunks' ki. So that's not a good thing. And then Trunks is trying to make sure he doesn't sense Black's ki, because if he does, then that could be a problem for them, obviously. And at this point in time, he doesn't. So they head for Capsule Corp, then suddenly Trunks feels his ki. And he turns back, and he looks in the sky, and oh my, it's a really cool visual. The sky just... the clouds start swirling, and there's a giant black, shadowy, area. It looks really cool. Then Trunks tries to go on and fight off Black with his sword. And Trunks, when he fights with his sword, he's always cool, but if you've seen Dragon Ball Z, you'll already know that he isn't very lucky and tends to either break his sword or something happens to it. Which happens here. He loses his sword in the fight and gets knocked on his ass. Mai then runs up, gives him the fuel, and says, get out of here, go to the past, I'll hold him off as a decoy or whatever, And then she's trying to shoot at him with a shotgun. I'm just sitting here thinking, really? Really? Has that ever worked in Dragon Ball? Ask the farmer. Has that ever worked in Dragon Ball? But anyway, this leads to Black shooting a ki blast at Mai, which causes a huge explosion, sending Mai flying, and I assume the impact kills her. And man, Trunks this isn't his day. Man, he is getting it really rough. And I kind of feel bad for him, and I'm sure everyone who watched the episode felt really bad for him too. Because man, it's just a dark scene. And then as Trunks looks up, the smoke pans away, and we see a silhouette that looks very familiar, and Black is revealed to be none other than an evil Goku. Now, is he actually Goku? I don't think so, but it's a pretty cool visual to see. And this evil Goku turns to Trunks and says, finally, today is the day that you will die, Saiyan. And oh my god, that scene right there sends goosebumps down your spine. It is so awesome. Words cannot describe how amazing the scene was. If you haven't seen it for whatever reason, look it up on YouTube. I'm sure you can find it. It's a really cool scene. It makes you remember all the dark and gritty stuff you got from the Trunks special. It's really good. So you may be wondering, after this long description of me talking and praising about this episode, what does he think about it? Oh, it's pretty simple, actually. This episode was great. If I had to describe it in 2 words, it would be, holy shit. How's that for a description? How is that? I would like to know. Leave your comments down below as to what you think will happen in the Trunks arc now that all this has happened. What are your predictions as to what's going to happen in the next episode? This is Gojira 2012 saying farewell for now.